Today's video is going to be about Punky color in the color Alpine green. I have my swatches labeled 1 through 12, but that is not synonymous with hair levels. That's just to help us keep track throughout the video. 1 is a bluish gray, 2 is a pink, 3 is a natural red, number 4 is black, and then from 4 to 11 we have a range that goes to platinum blonde. And then number 12 is the toned version of the platinum blonde. To start, I'm going to take the dye directly from the container and I'll put it at the top of each swatch. And then some people do like to dilute their dyes, so I'll be putting the diluted version at the bottom of each swatch. I would like to remind you that everyone's hair is different, which means everyone's hair will take dye differently. If you have virgin hair that's never been dyed before, your hair may not take the dye as well as my swatches do because my swatches have been chemically processed in the past. It's always best to do as much research as possible when dyeing your hair yourself. So as I was thinking I was finished, I looked at my camera and I discovered that it stopped filming for some reason. So the bottom portion I diluted, and that was a 3:1 ratio. So that is 3 parts diluter, 1 part dye. Firstly, I always use a white conditioner when diluting my dyes. And also I have gotten some questions before about diluter and why I use it. There is a variety of reasons why people will dilute, but essentially it can just lighten the color of the dye. I'm going to let them sit for about 3 hours. I'll rinse them out, and when they're dry, I will meet you back here. I know it's kind of hard to see on camera, but this dye looks like it dyed pretty much everything except, of course, the black one. So number 5 and 6, if you look at them up close, you can see a tint of green, but because the green is a little bit deeper, it kind of made the hair look like a black with a green undertone, if that's a thing. And then I feel like you can really actually start to see the green on number 7 and onward. It kind of just depends on the type of green that you like. On number 7 and 8, it looks a little bit closer to a grassy green. And then 9, 10, 11, and 12, to me, it's a little bit more cool toned than 7 and 8, so it's closer to more of like an emerald green. So the green did cover the pink on number 2, and when I compare it to these, it actually looks oddly a little bit more cool toned and a little bit more muted. Number 3 actually kind of looks similar to 6, where it's got a little bit of a green tint to it, but it almost looks like a black. For most dyes, usually I'll kind of like pick out which blonde piece I think the dye looks the best on. But honestly, for the Alpine green, I feel like it really does look good on most of the lighter swatches, I would say. I mean, 7 even looks kind of nice too. It, like I said earlier, it kind of just depends on the type of green you want. I will say it does look the most vibrant on 10 and 11. But honestly, comparing 9, 10, 11, and 12, it's not exactly easy to decipher between the 4. They all do look very similar. As for comparisons, I don't have a ton of greens like this, but I'd like to start off with Lime Crime in the color Sea Witch. And for some reason, my camera makes Sea Witch look super blue. That's something to keep in mind with the Sea Witch. And I say that because Sea Witch is slightly more blue. It's a little bit closer to like a mermaid color. So this is comparable to number 12. 11, 10, 9, and 8. Swatch is definitely a lot more blue in undertone than the Alpine green. As the hair gets darker, the blue has a harder time showing up in the Swatch, so number 8 for Swatch looks a little bit more green, and it looks more similar to the Alpine. But I would still say that the Alpine green looks more green, obviously. And especially when it's diluted, you can really see the differences. I feel like if you diluted Alpine green enough, you might get like a minty green, whereas if you diluted Swatch even more than this, it'd probably be closer to like a turquoise. My next comparison will be my last comparison, and it'll also be a little bit closer, in my opinion, to the Alpine green, and that is Lunar Tides in the color Juniper. This is comparable to number 12, number 11, number 10, number 9, number 8, and number 7. So Juniper green actually does look a little bit more green, or I guess more warm toned green. So to me it almost kind of looks like the Punky color Alpine green is a mix between the Swatch from Lime Crime and now the Juniper from Lunar Tides. Together I feel like they'd make the Alpine green. So the Juniper green is able to dye the darker blonde swatches, at least my swatches, but it doesn't look quite as vibrant as the Alpine green, and I'm wondering if that's because of the tone of green that they are. I would almost describe the Juniper green to be closer to like a foresty green, and like I said, the Alpine green almost looks emerald to me. And again, it's probably a little bit hard to tell on camera, but the diluted parts can really show the differences in undertone. You can see there's a lot more of like a yellowy green tone to Juniper versus Alpine green being a lot more cool toned. So now that we've done our comparisons, let's get into the close-ups. I hope this video helped. If you have any requests, there is a link below to a Google form you can fill out that gets submitted directly to me. Just remember, I only do dyes that are not tested on animals. Thank you so much to my patrons, and thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video.